Let's talk about regions, zones, and how to get the most out of tile improvements in our history untold, because they are such a huge part in this game, and they really will determine how well or how badly you will do throughout the game, depending on the decisions you made early on. So, first, let's talk about regions. The whole world of Ara is split up in those big tiles, which are called regions. And every region is comprised out of multiple zones. You can see it right here. This region is comprised out of 4 zones. The highest is 5, the lowest is 2. And if you're wondering, which region should I occupy with my city? The answer is, well, if you can, the one with 5. 4 is still okay. 3 is also okay, but it really depends on what resource is in said region. And 2 zones, I will be brutally honest, is never good. Like, the resource which has to be in that region has to be absolutely massive. And in most cases, that's just not the case. The same goes, by the way, with sea tiles. Sea tiles are a little bit a scam right now, I would say. They might make you quite a bit of money later on, and that's what they're helpful for. But till you can actually utilize the money you make from the sea regions, they are just not worth it. Because the thing you don't have to forget is you have only a limited amount of regions you can occupy. No, there is not a real hard limit to a city, but starting at around level 15, it becomes much slower to expand your city. And then when you reach level 20, like this city right here, it's significantly slowed down. It would be really hard to keep everyone happy, and adding new regions will also be problematic because there might be other cities around you or other players, right? And then you don't have the place for it. So I would say 15 to 20 is the normal size of a city where it's still feasible to obtain regions. And starting at that point, it will become really hard to do so. And so you should already make a decision of where do you want to expand to, which regions make sense to you. And as I said, one of the reasons for that, or one of the points you want to look for, are the resources. But there is something else you want to look out for, and you can activate it through the filter down here. You toggle visualization, and then you are clicking on the yields. And the yields is really important because it gives you the amount of information you want from an area. You can see it right here. This is for food, wood, material, and money. And when you claim a region, this is important to make your decision what you actually want to build here, because every tile improvement is working with the base resource number you have in a region. So let's say we are taking food here as an example in this region, and it already says it in the tooltip. Claiming this region will provide 4 plus food. Producing improvement placed in this region will produce extra food based on this yield. So the higher the base yield is, the better your tile improvements will perform in this region. And that's super important because all the improvements you can do to a tile are percentages. And so it is time to talk about tile improvements and how to get the most out of it. We are starting with this region because it's pretty easy to follow and easy to understand for newcomers. This is a farm region, so I put down all the farms, right? And then I put down a grocer. And when you are clicking on the farm, you can see it with the modifiers. Thanks to all the other farms around here, you will see that they're boosting each other with food production. Again, that's thanks to the farms having the buffs. You can see it right here, right? Those are all the buffs which are coming in. And then also because of the grocer, which is also giving another, what is it, 100% craft production at this improvement, and 100% region food yield is applied towards the harvest production. My farms will produce tons of food. And another reason why the number of food is so high is because it works with a base number of 4. Think about how less food you would get out of this if you would just have 2 apples or only 1 apple. So you would only get 1 food, as the basis number. So always make sure that you have the highest yield of a resource, right? You don't want to really go for timber here, or you don't really want to go for materials because the income is just horrid. This area, though, this is why I build quite a bit of mines here, is giving me three materials, and that's quite a bit of an income. So you always want to look out for the yield. But Mole, what is with regions where you don't really have a yield? Let's talk about that. You can see here, this is my blacksmith area where they are producing iron bars, which are super duper important, the metal ingots, and they don't have a basis yield. So the yield is coming from the blueprint. So we're putting in the blueprint, which is the metal ingot, and then you can see how much a metal ingot takes to be produced. So the base production is 500. You have to reach 500 production to produce one metal ingot per turn. And as you can see, I have a total production per turn of 920, so nearly double the amount. So if I would put in here, let's say, wealth, you can now see I'm producing 2.4 metal ingots per turn. So you not just want to put like all the different blacksmiths together to get a huge boost from the other blacksmith areas. I also put down a mill, and this is very important. You might think, wait, a mill? But that's for food, right? It clearly says one bonus food from all farms and their upgrades. Yeah, but it has a second perk, which is plus 10 bonus craft production at each industry improvement in this improvement region, right? So they are buildings which are also having multiple boosts they can give to the buildings. And again, you want to reach as much production as possible. Like you want to get at least the minimum production to get one item per turn. But if you can, you want to go beyond that. Also, this is very important, there are buildings which will perform better depending on where you put them. So let's say we have here the resistance, aka the dwellings at the beginning, and they will actually increase the amount of houses you can have when you build it inside your city center, which is this area. You can see it right here, 2 bonus housing if built in your city center. So there's also a museum you can build, which will then give you a perk. And you really want to make sure that the buildings which have to be built in a certain areas will get those buffs. So you have to read a little bit through it, but it should give you a good understanding to go for zones or regions with a lot of zones in it, and the resources are not always the most important part because you want to have as many zones as possible. Second, you want to get the most out of the tile improvements by looking how many materials and food and whatnot you were getting out of the region, right? And then you want to make sure that all the buildings you build together in a region are at least of the same type. They don't have to be exactly the same, but they have to be all harvest buildings, all production buildings, all science buildings, and so on and so forth. So those are the things you really want to look out for when you want to get the most out of tile improvements. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found it helpful, please leave a like, and if you want to see more Era History Untold videos and strategy games, which we are focusing on here in the channel, you might want to subscribe to that as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Stay safe. Bye-bye.